Gregory Peck, my gosh, he could do it all. He could do The Gunfighter, he could do Moby Dick, he could do Gentleman's Agreement, he could do Roman Holiday. He was a statue of strength in everything that he did.
Well, Greg Peck was as we say, a considerable man. There was a real presence there and a real weight and a sense of somebody who was not flighty and not superficial and really cared enough to take the time. And he was unrushable.
There was something in this pairing of Gregory Peck and Audrey Hepburn that was so chemically right. There was something that they were both tall and dark and shy and exploding on the screen. I mean, Peck was there a little bit already, and she was an unknown who just dazzled at first glance.
He's a good actor, and he's a serious actor. And you won't find a harder worker.
He was one of those people that no matter what else was going on, when it came up against him, it all slowed right down. And he really was a very kind of a powerful presence in that sense.
She doesn't know who I am or what I do. Look, Irving, this is my story. I dug it up. I gotta protect Amy. She's really... Your tintypes are gonna make this little epic twice as valuable.
The princess goes slumming.
You're in for 25% of the take.
Finally, as Peck's sidekick, photographer Powell, Wyler decided upon Eddie Albert. Albert had worked previously with Wyler, and the director knew that he would be perfect for the role.
One more round, and I'm going to throw you gents right out in the snow.
Say, what
I got to get up early. Date with Her Royal Highness, who will graciously pose for some pictures.
I met Eddie Albert when he was at Warner Brothers through my good friend Jimmy Cagney. And Eddie did a lot of pictures out there. But for Roman Holiday, he changed completely physically because Eddie always had a crew cut. And in this picture, he talked with William Wyler, and he let his hair grow long, and he grew a beard, which was very unusual for Eddie Albert. And he was so effective. He was just great in that for the third person.
Eddie Albert was just a lovely guy who always had a joke. He and my father both had terrific senses of humor and loved to play and had a very good time together.
He's just an extraordinary person. And the fact that at 94 he's funny and loving and articulate and caring and still the head of his family.
Hit him again, Smitty!
With his cast now in place, Wyler was ready to begin the arduous task of preparing to make a major motion picture in Italy. At the time the camera began to roll on Roman Holiday, location shooting, especially in foreign countries, was a rarity.
You know, it used to be if we made a picture that took place in Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., and England, we could do it here on our back lot, or with what we call a transparency, which we were on a transparency stage with the rear projector projecting the locale of where you were supposed to be.
Well, there were a lot of reasons why my father wanted to shoot in Rome. Some of them were professional and some were personal. Before that, movies weren't really made on location very often, and the studio wanted their directors in the studio under their control.
And I think that helped open up locations all over the world, because today Hollywood is located in California, but the motion picture industry is all over the world.
Rome was the third character in the film, the third star. It was fantastic, and no, people hadn't traveled that much. I mean, now, so what, Rome here today, Rome today, Paris tomorrow.
To be able to shoot in this beautiful city with these wonderful locations, it was a time when there weren't even many cars in the city, mostly scooters. And he used to say that for every location, there were 5 choices.
So it wasn't a super production at all. And yet they managed to do this extraordinary shoot, very of the moment. It almost looks like a new wave film sometimes, the way you're running through the streets of Rome, the way the Nouvelle Vague did in Paris, you know.
It was very interesting, though. William Wyler and Adolph Zukor and Frank Freeman thought that the story was so strong, and they thought that the characters and the story should be the central point of this and not the location particularly. Let the location blend into it. So that's why they filmed it in black and white rather than color.
I think the black and white adds to it, but again, that is a sort of sophisticated taste. I mean, I think the whole idea when Turner was going to colorize everything was it would make it more appealing to the mass audience. It's just like mass audiences don't want subtitles. There's something a little bit esoteric in having black and white now, of course, and it's done for that reason. To me, there's something about Audrey Hepburn, well, and Sabrina too, that is just made for black and white, but then you see her in funny face and she's made for color. She's just a woman for all colors and all seasons. It's just, you can't pin her down.
The wardrobe for Roman Holiday was created by the legendary Paramount costume designer Edith Head. Winning an Academy Award for the film, this was the 4th Oscar for Head. In this rare Roman Holiday costume test footage, Audrey Hepburn models some of Edith Head's designs.
They were a wonderful team. First off, Audrey Hepburn knew fashion. She knew what was good for her. She didn't want to cover her neck, all it was long in that. She didn't want to do that. And she knew she was thin, but she didn't want to be padded out or anything, as some actresses did.
May I present Your Highness with some commemorative photos of your visit to Rome?
The dailies started coming in because the film was printed there in Rome. They saw it first and then sent it here. And within a week, everybody on the lot was saying, wait till you see this Audrey Hepburn. She is marvelous in this picture. They say she's tall, thin. Some people even said skinny. She's got this long neck. She's got the bony structure. But she's like a little wasp. She's just love her. And the word got all around. We started getting calls from Hedda Hopper, Luella Parsons, Army Archard, who wanted to come over and see some footage on her. And the word just spread. In 2 weeks, she was the talk of this lot.
How could she not be? She was so exquisite, and there was this combination of sort of tomboy. There's this slender, boyish figure. And it seems to me it was one of those things that just worked right from the beginning. While I was known as a perfectionist, I think Hepburn was quite nervous at first because it was a big deal for her. I think Gregory Peck was a huge factor in relaxing her. Apparently he was just wonderful. He saw, the minute he saw her, he knew. He recognized that she was going to be big, and he called up the studio and said, you've got to put her name above the title with me. She's going to be a huge star.